Welcome back to Real Estate Today. I'm Elliot Koolik, and we're back with Neil Stein of WCS Lending. He's their senior mortgage advisor. And Neil, one of the things I really want to talk about, we talked about market conditions. We talked about, the impact of how the market is transitioning, and certainly the different type of products that were available, let's say, in the last 3 to 5 years, and certainly, how that impacts someone's decision going forward. What I really want to talk about is, I sell houses all day long. And it seems to me that there are so many different options for consumers to secure financing. Mm-hmm. It used to be, you had your friend who was in the business. He was a local guy. That's guy or girl, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And you could use that person. You could walk into your bank. Now with LendingTree and companies like that where, they're bidding on loans. Let's really talk about the pros and cons of, the internet leads, I guess, is what you guys get a lot of times, the local business, and certainly, just walking into your bank.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think I might have touched on this just a little bit before, but let's talk about walking into your local bank. You walk into your local bank, you're going to be responsible for getting all of the materials together yourself to be able to do the loan, to submit the loan, to get an approval. There's going to be nobody holding your hand at the local bank. I can assure you of that. More importantly, if you submit your loan with the local bank and lock your rate and interest rates get favorable and come down, you're stuck at that local bank. The only way you're going to get a better loan or a cheaper loan is by taking that package from that bank and walking over to the next bank.
Now, are you saying that banks are not competitive, or people don't know any, they don't do it every day, so they don't know the right questions to ask? They just, by default, they go to the bank.
That's correct. And I'm not saying that banks aren't competitive. They're very attractive. They're very competitive. As a matter of fact, we probably use most of these banks that we're talking about.
Well, they have a wholesale division, correct?
They have a wholesale and they have a retail division. So what I'm trying to say is I think it's advantageous to hire a mortgage consultant, a mortgage broker that will be able to shop your loan for you, assist you and hold your hand in getting all of your docs together. Yeah. And really take you through the loan processes with with care.
Okay, does that mean, the first thing, I think a consumer would think is, I go to a mortgage broker, there's another person involved, it's costing me more money.
Right. Well,
true?
You know what? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. We don't claim to be the most expensive or the cheapest out there. But you know what? If you're somewhere in between and you're getting great service, and at the end of the day, you're going to get your loan done, I would think that's the most important thing.
Well, maybe that gets back to, if someone is so price sensitive, and they're so focused on the rate, and they're not looking at all the fees, and we're going to get to the good faith estimate, because that's really where it gets summarized. They could think they're making a better decision, but maybe long term they're not making the best decision.
Right. Hey, listen, there's a big difference between a Lexus and a Mercedes. Right. There's nothing, that's the best analogy that I could make, Elliot.
Okay, well, talk to me about a good faith estimate, and what is the impact of what fees should be on there? What are those, you hear junk fees all the time.
Sure.
What should people be looking for?
I will tell you probably the biggest thing that people don't realize when receiving and going over a good faith estimate. There are closing costs, but there's also fees that are outside of closing costs that cannot be determined at the time of receipt of a good faith estimate. It's something that they should definitely keep in mind as a consumer. Something called per diem interest. If you get a $400,000 mortgage at 5% and you close that loan with your lender on the 15th of the month, and you're not going to get your first mortgage statement till the 1st of the month, closing, they're going to make you pay those 15 days up front. Okay. That's per diem interest. You should always be aware when receiving a good faith estimate that could be money you need to come up with at closing.
Okay, talk to me about points and homeowners insurance.
Okay, first of all,
you hear points all the time.
Okay, points. They should be used to buy down rates, pretty much. Okay. Meaning, if an interest rate is at 6% and you want to pay the lender a point to buy your rate down to 5 3/4, that's something, depending on your situation, depending on the consultation you've had with your loan professional, that's something that you might be doing. It's something that might be advantageous.
I would bet most people think points are the commission the broker's earning.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not, but I bet you that's what they think.
As a matter of fact, if the broker, in my opinion, is doing the right thing by the client, 9 out of 10 times, there will be no points, and they'll be getting compensated by the lender that they take the loan to.
Okay, let's talk about homeowners insurance. I mean, we're in South Florida.
Right.
Big impact of what's going on.
Correct.
Talking, not that this is, I guess it's relevant, they're talking about the portability of your taxes. They're talking about how homeowners insurance is affecting mortgage loans and purchases? I mean, where do you see things as it relates to those two issues?
Well, I obviously think homeowners insurance in the area is getting very pricey, and that's probably due to all the hurricanes we've been having over the last few years.
Although this year we did okay.
This year we did do okay. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing a big pickup in my purchase business as a result of probably us not having a hurricane. And South Florida is the most beautiful place in the world, in my opinion.
You know what the truth was? I always thought that was more of an excuse. You know what I mean? Look, every place in the country has natural issues.
Correct.
So I think it was not that it wasn't a real issue. It's a real issue. But certainly not having that kind of situation this year made things a little bit better in light of what the market's been over the last 6 to 9 months.
Correct. I mean, you know, look, as relates to mortgages and homeowners insurance, the only thing that I could really give you with some intelligence is that the lender will require you to show 12 months in advance paid homeowners insurance on your home before they will close your loan.
And you know, one thing we've talked about is that you help, and this is a very important point, you help your borrower find homeowners insurance.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just going to some random person, you guide the process and you know the nuances. What's the right, amount of their, their deductible? What should it be in relation to, are they over-insuring their house? So those are all relevant issues in the whole buying and selling process.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Elliot, because one of the things that I really pride myself in is throughout the 30-day to maybe 45-day loan process with my borrower, something that kind of sets me apart from everyone else is that what I try to do is I am always trying to help the borrower better themselves with some of the relationships that they might have. I'm the type of person, I always like to say, Elliot, I have the biggest Rolodex in South Florida, but I happen to know a lot of people with integrity. I always make sure that I want to align myself with people with integrity. So if a borrower needs help finding a homeowner's policy, I will direct them to the right insurance person. If they're new in town and they need a CPA or financial advisor, I'll direct them to the people with integrity. Well, it's one of the things that I do.
You know, I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up the show. And I think when you really look at the mortgage process, although the internet has been extremely helpful in, making banks a little more competitive or lenders more competitive, I think at the end of the day, most consumers, most borrowers really need to be guided through the whole process. As a real estate broker, it's not just about the commission. It's not just about doing the transaction. My business as well as yours is a relationship-driven business. Clearly, the ability to do business all over the country, especially as a mortgage broker, allows you to sell, you can do loans everywhere. Our business is maybe a little bit different, but, the fact that you can hold their hand, maybe not literally, because if they're in California, maybe it's a little harder, right. But with the advent of all technology, you're able to take a person and really not only shop the loan, but really take it through the whole process. And that obviously is great for referrals and, ongoing business. So,
I pride myself in it, Elliot.
And I do too. So, I'm really glad that you're able to come on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking real soon.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that everyone came to watch the show today. I think Neil really brought up a lot of great points, and certainly I think the moral of the story is that you kind of get what you pay for. If you really have a short-term perspective on things, sometimes that can be very good and you can get a certain type of loan that really works for you. But if you use somebody like Neil or anyone that you use at home, you really need someone to guide you through the process and help you ask the right questions, because we're all experts in our own little world, and when you start buying a home and spending a lot of money like most people do, and it's sometimes their largest asset, you really need to protect yourself. So thank you for tuning in this week, and we'll see you on the next show of Real Estate Today.